Hello, and today we are going to look at a classic game, Star Wars the role-playing game. This is the West End Games D6 edition, but as you can see, this is the 30th anniversary FFG re-release. Now, I actually owned this back in the day, and it's, a good fun little system, and it's basically set in the original trilogy era, and was responsible for a lot of the extended universe. So this is all prequels, and as such it doesn't really speak to that, although there were a couple of fan-made supplements, I believe, issued, and there's very good PDF web resources. So if you do pick yourself up a copy of this, then yeah, there's lots of good support online for it. It's very well regarded. Now, as you can see on the back cover here, it's basically the core rulebook and the source book, which is basically a load of fluff and setting information. There were also a Rebel and an Imperial source book, I believe, which I used to own, which were well worth picking up. And then several adventures. I believe there's over 100 books actually published for this. And yeah, very exciting to see it. And as you can see, it's got Disney, Lucasfilm, and FFG on the back, because of course that's all stuff that's happened since this game came out. Well, I've got the game out of the shrink wrap, and unfortunately this rather lovely cover is just a little thin piece of paper, because underneath is the actual slip cover itself, and you might just about be able to make out the black on black Star Wars logo there. It's quite hard to see, and it's a nice cover, but I think I prefer it as it comes to you in the shrink wrap with this as a full page spread. And yeah, it's got a decent weight to it on the spine here. Obviously on your shelf that's going to look pretty cool, and then inside the two books themselves. Now, having got the two books out of the cover, you do get this little bit talking about the current FFG role-playing system with the different things. So Edge of Empire, Age of Rebellion, Force and Destiny, and yeah, it just tells you that FFG have their own new box set as well, the beginner game for The Force Awakens. So yeah, nice little extra there, although to be honest I'm not so keen on FFG's current rules. I would much rather they support the West End Games stuff, and seeing this back in print is great. It looks just as good as the day I remember it being new on the shelf. My copy was getting a bit dog-eared, and there's not really much to see on the back that says it's much different really. I mean, there's this 40 icon which I don't quite remember, and I don't know, is there something about FFG inside? Well, there's a new forward. This bit over here is probably new, but from now onwards this looks pretty much like it did when it was brand new, way back in the kind of 80s, and it's mostly black and white. There were colour bits, I believe, in the original rulebook. Oh yeah, there you go, we do have some colour inserts which are sort of almost like in-universe adverts, which are great. And yeah, this is a great little rulebook. I mean, it's very thin by modern standards, I guess, but this is all you actually really need to play the game. If you know anything about Star Wars, if you've got the films on DVD, whatever, and by the way, hand shop first, don't care what the special editions say. Yeah, definitely get a copy of the original 1977 release if you can. Much better than all the modern digital effect rubbish that's come out since. But yeah, really good to see this, as I say, back in print with modern printing technique, making it look pretty clean. The black and white photos, they look reasonable. Lovely piece of concept art here from before Star Wars came out with the two sons of Tatooine. Yeah, really good. And it's got these weird sort of character templates, because you don't roll up a character with attributes and then pick a class, etc. But instead you pick, I can't remember, do they call it archetypes or something, and then templates. Yeah, I think it's templates is the name that gives them. And when you do that, it comes with a fixed set of dice. So for example, here it's talking about a smuggler. So the smuggler starts off with a fixed dexterity, a fixed knowledge, a fixed mechanical, a fixed perception, fixed strength, fixed technical, and then they get some skills underneath which you can upgrade. And it's basically your your attribute plus your skill as a dice test. I'm not sure if this version has what's known as the wild die. That might be a revised edition, because this is literally a reprint of the first edition as far as I'm aware. And the wild dice gives you the ability to like explode your sixes, etc. But anyway, that's the actual core book. The source book, again, looks very, very similar to what I remember from back in the day. Got a bit more colour inside by the looks of it. It's got all sorts of, as I say, fluff. Not really so much. I mean, there is a bit of rules, I suppose, if you want to be Jawa. It gives you some stats for Jawas. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's a weird mix-up of a settings book and sort of a monsters manual using D&D terms. So a little bit weird. And I must admit, the source book, I think it's a nice to have, not an essential. So if you don't want to go out and spend, I don't know, 30, 40 quid on a brand new copy, you might want to pick up just this off eBay for 10, 20 quid. But I mean, if you actually want to pick up both books, I think off eBay, these two books together would be more expensive than just buying the brand new version. And it looks really good. I mean, the colours really pop. It's got a slight tacky feel to it, the print. But the actual inside is such clear type. It's really shown up nicely. Hopefully that's coming out on screen here for you. But yeah, really, really looking forward to diving back into Star Wars, the role-playing game. And the D6 engine, whilst it's not perfect, I think is the best way to play Star Wars. And I believe the D6 engine did actually get released as its own standalone thing. So if you like the game engine, but you're not a big fan of Star Wars, well, you can always take that game engine and use it with fantasy, sci-fi, whatever it is that you want to do. Now, being an older role-playing game product, it's got a nice intro telling you about what role-playing is, how to create your character, and then talking about the Force. Talks about your attributes and your skills and trying to roll over in a difficulty number. Shooting, initiative. Talks about the Jedi Code, very important. And by the way, Jedis are pretty powerful in this game. A little solitaire adventure to introduce you to role-playing. And then you're pretty much done for the player's guide. And as you can see, we're then into the Game Master section. So talks about how to game master, how to use attributes and skills. So there's quite a lot of detail there. So lots of stuff in there. So perception, for example, nice colour plates. I love this Imperial Navy advert. Fantastic. Yeah, so quite a lot, as you can see, going on about skills. Then we get into combat. And obviously stormtroopers, very precise shooters, can always hit someone until the plot demands they can't. And then various damage modifiers, how to deal with wounds and healing, starships, and I think there's a little bit about space combat in here as well, if I remember. Yeah, here it is, Starship Combat. How to improve your ships. And then quite a bit on the Force, obviously, training. Bear in mind, this is set at a time when Yoda's about the only Force user still in existence, and then Luke and Darth Vader, obviously, getting involved there as well. So, load of stuff there about different Force powers. Then there's a little bit here about droids. Then running your adventures. So, quite a bit there. Let's skip ahead here a bit. So then there's an adventure included in the book, so that should get you started. Then some adventure ideas. So lots of little plot hooks here. And then I think we get into the templates at the back here. So character sheets. So alien student of the Force, arrogant noble, armchair historian, and there's quite a few of those. Then at the back here, some tables, and then an advert for Star Wars Destiny, the dice game, and the current FFG role-playing game. So you can see, nice, concise little rulebook. So there you go. That's just a quick look at Star Wars, the role-playing game. I might return to this, maybe have a series about the game itself. As I say, I think I only ever ran 1 or 2 sessions because we were so into D&D back in the days that this didn't really get a look in, and sadly West End Games lost the license right before the prequels came out, and a lot of the work they'd done for the role-playing game basically got discarded, and that's a great shame because their extended universe stuff is really cool, and I would have loved to, for example, seen in the most recent Star Wars that came out, so post the original trilogy, Force Awakens, etc. It would have been great to see, for example, Boba Fett coming out of the Pit of Sarlacc, which I believe was in a Dark Horse comic way back in the day. So anyway, there you go, enough rambling. Gonna have a read, have a think about this, and then hopefully maybe do a playlist about the RPG, and also get back to some board game looks and playthroughs, etc. So anyway, if you've enjoyed that, please like and subscribe and do all those other things. Don't forget to click the bell. And if you really want to help me out, support me on Patreon. Anyway, till the next video, take care.